Okay, let's go.
Rapidly growing.
Non-native tree species,
Consuming.
alien tree species,
Adapting.
exotic species.
They conquer.
Benefit,
invasive species,
risk, conifers, broadleaves,
alien or a non-native,
resistance, heat, timber market, ecosystem services, recreational use, pests,
Jeopardizing local economies.
perception, public biodiversity, urban trees, resilience, future, climate change, global change.
And devastating entire ecosystems.
That's an Interreg Alpine Space funded project.
You are listening to the first episode of a series of podcasts concerning the use and management of non-native tree species in the alpine space.
Our project, ALPTREES, covers the Alpine Space, which is a political geographical region consisting of Austria, Slovenia, northern provinces of Italy, France, Germany, Switzerland and Liechtenstein.
What are we talking about today?
We are talking about non-native trees.
Why non-native trees?
You need to know that non-native tree species are a hot topic in European forest policies and forest science in the moment, because we are all facing the negative effects of climate change, especially in the forests. And we are desperately looking for solutions how to deal with the impact of climate change in future. So non-native trees are widely discussed because they could mitigate some effects of climate change. They could be a good source for timber, but for other ecosystem services of forests. But on the other hand, non-native tree species, they can become invasive. They invade ecosystems and they compete with the native fauna and flora. They change the ecosystems, and therefore they are widely discussed whether it's good or bad to plant non-native tree species.
So what is it that makes this collaboration, if I may call it, with the EU platform Interreg Alpine Space so fruitful?
So what's often missing in research is applied experiences, programs and possibilities to really test something with municipalities and to go into the field. And Interreg is a fantastic program of the EU, which gives us the opportunity to do exactly this, to work on the ground and to develop strategies for quite complex things with the people in the municipalities.
Katharina, you are the project leader of this ALPTREES project. You're not alone in this.
Yes, our 12 partners are distributed in the whole Alpine space. And they are not only researchers, but also municipalities or local administrations and environmental agencies. Together we work on this fantastic project where we are very thankful to have the opportunity to really intensively work on this very controversial topic of non-native tree species in the alpine space.
So when did it start?
We started in October 2019, and we have time until 2022 to develop a strategy how to use non-native tree species in forests, but also in cities in the alpine space. And our idea is to include as many participants as possible in our project. The public, schools, experts, politicians, administrations, and even we want to engage with the current EU level also. So we hope to build a broad basis for all our decision tools, which we want to develop.
So your name is Katharina Lapin, and you are a researcher at the Austrian Forest Research Center in Vienna, right? You, as the project leader, are responsible for a non-native tree species guideline to be developed within this project. A guideline that will help stakeholders, urban planners, people in the timber industry and foresters to evaluate the risk and chances of non-native tree species in the alpine space. So, Katharina, you and your 12 project partners throughout the Alpine Space define what are native trees and what trees are non-native, and you make a risk assessment if these are non-native are invasive. It sounds like orchestrating a sack of flea.
It is indeed a very complicated task to manage and also to organize the internal communication. We all speak different languages, which sometimes can be difficult when you quickly want to say something quite emotional, but everybody is quite used to work in a European environment, and that's one of the biggest challenges, to find the common language we have and also to share the common views on certain topics, like in our case.
To be able to come together at one table and keep a cool head and mind with polarizing topics is the basis of the scientific approach. But also private forests that once secured the livelihood for generations of forest owners are threatened by climate change. So I imagine the choice of what tree species to use in the future to adapt forests to a hotter and drier climate to be a very emotional debate amongst stakeholders in the industry. Have you witnessed emotions towards the topic of non-native trees in the scientific approach?
Oh, science is always emotional. Science, in my opinion, or difficult research questions, they live from controversies, from discussions. The more active discussions are drawn, the better the result, because every output or every idea you have needs to be discussed with experts. And also with non-experts, of course.
The topic of non-native trees is an emotional topic, isn't it?
It's a very emotional topic. People love it or hate it. There have been so many changes in the last 10 years, whether a non-native tree species is good or bad. As far as I can tell from now, from our first results, there is no good and bad when you talk about non-native tree species. That's why you need precise decision-making tools that tell you whether the species can be planted in this specific area or not. Because sometimes a tree can be very useful because it's resistant against heat and pests and so on, and you really need the tree on this area. In another area, it can cause really hard damages to natural ecosystems. So there is no good and bad. You rather have to evaluate it case by case. That's why we need this project. We have a clear plan what we are going to do in future and what decisions policymakers, administrations, and also, let's say, landscapers and foresters can do in future. And also to describe the situation at national level and the difficulties they face with non-native tree species.
So, Katharina, what is your dream goal with the project ALPTREES?
My wish would be that the decisions or the views of every person would depend on more knowledge on non-native tree species. We can only provide you with the knowledge. We can tell you what we know, what we would like to know, how the models are responding to climate change and so on. How can non-native tree species be used and how they should not be used and where the risks are. But we cannot tell you how to think about them and how to make your choice as a landscaper, as a forester. We just want to give you the opportunity to learn as much as possible so that your choice of tree in future is knowledge-based.
Besides scientific research, how does ALPTREES generate knowledge?
To find this knowledge, we need to be quite clever because it's everywhere and nowhere in the same moment. Many things are published in research papers. Many things are known by stakeholders. Many things are known by local experts. And in ALPTREES, we are reaching out for them. We are searching for them. We are developing surveys for stakeholders. We are interviewing experts. We are getting in touch with the key policy makers for our deliverables. We want to get in touch with the public. We share ideas during our tree talks and so on. So we really dig into all directions to get every single piece of knowledge on non-native tree species in the Alpine space together to provide everyone with a very good basis for future decisions.
Time to say goodbye.
Already? No! Okay, I have so much more to say about non-native tree species, but I guess you will have to wait for the next podcast on ALPTREES. See you soon!
Thank you, Katharina, for your short introduction to the ALPTREES project. What topic is coming up next in the podcast section?
In our first podcast, we want to give our two partners from France the possibility to present themselves.
So stay tuned, keep in touch with the ALPTREES project and follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter.